Alright guys, hey, just want to bring you another video talking about how to keep an open mind in bass tournaments. Obviously bass keep an open mind, they change about every single day, so that for us to kind of adapt and be good fishermen, you know, that means us adapting as well just about every single day. A lot of times these bass, they change with conditions, they change with water level, they change with water clarity, they change with sunny, cloudy, they change everything dictates what a bass does every single day. Temperatures, it doesn't matter, anything. So that's something you have to kind of keep in mind when it comes to bass fishing, is what you did yesterday may not work today. And I'm not going to dive too much into the details, but definitely going to just kind of tell you about how I adapt, how I start when it comes to if I'm in a tournament and I did something in practice and you know, I figured these fish out frogging over top of mats. Well, we had a cold front in the night, you know, that night, and this is just using an example. But in practice, I was getting 10-15 bites a day frogging mats. Well, we had a cold night, and all of a sudden, those fish don't want to bite that frog anymore. Well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna leave, or are you gonna adapt? And my thinking on that is, you know, those fish are there. Those fish are not swimming half a mile away to go somewhere else. Those fish are still there. You just gotta figure out what am I gonna do? What technique am I gonna use now to catch these bass? They're still here, but what do I need to do to catch those bass? So for me, a couple things start going through my mind. It's, what's the water level? How deep is it? What's the water clarity? So the reason I kind of think about those things is, if it's a foot deep and those fish are up there and you're catching them frogging, and the water's really and it gets cold, or you have a cold front, those fish might want to move off to a little bit of deeper water where it's a little warmer. So if you're frogging in 1.5 feet of water and the edge of those pads or the edge of that mat is 3 foot, those fish are probably going to ease out there to the edge where it drops off just a little bit to that deeper water where the water temp's probably about the same as what it was the day before. So then the techniques kind of change. They may not be on a frog, but you might be able to catch them flipping. You might be able to catch them throwing a chatterbait down the edge or a rattle trap or something like that. So just kind of think about that. You know, no matter what you do, the fish are there. You just have to figure out what technique they want that day. Now sometimes everything goes to plan and you catch them on a frog all week, or you catch them on a frog in practice, you catch them on a frog in the tournament. But a lot of times, you guys know, if you fish enough, sometimes it's too good to be true. Practice goes good a lot of times, but tournaments completely different. When you got 300 boats, 200 boats dragging around the lake, and everybody's a good fisherman and knows what they're doing, and you got 400 frogs thrown at them and this and that, you got to change a little bit. Those fish know. Those fish are smart. In my opinion, those fish know when it's a Saturday instead of a Thursday or Friday, and they know when it's a Saturday or Sunday or tournament day. So kind of keep those things in your mind. A couple other examples. So say you're fishing brush piles out deep, right? Well, those fish may be on those brush piles in practice, and then here comes the tournament, and you think you're the only one to find that brush pile. Well, you got 20 other guys hitting that brush pile in the tournament. What do you think those fish are going to do? Those fish are going to ease out of that brush pile and scatter out a little bit. Or they may stay there, but they may just get smarter. So you got to kind of adapt. You got to think about, what is everybody else not doing? So for me personally, I'm going to make longer casts. I'm going to back up. Instead of getting 50 feet away from the brush pile, I'm going to get 90, where I can just see that brush pile on live scope and bomb a cast out there. See if that'll make the fish bite. A lot of times when those fish get a lot of pressure on those piles, instead of being up in the piles like they were previous days, they ease out around the pile. So there may be a stump 20 feet away from that pile. Well, that's where that fish is sitting at. So then you focus on that stump, or, you know, it's kind of when you use live scope to an advantage. And for me personally, I know a lot of stuff's going on with live scope right now, but I kind of use it as not even so much as a see the fish, catch the fish. I use it as a what's here, what's over there, what's here, how big is this brush pile, where's my bait at, just so I know how to judge my presentation, that sort of thing. It's not so much see a fish, catch a fish for me personally. Some guys are really good at that, but I just use it for my surroundings, to know exactly what I'm fishing, know exactly how deep it is, you know, what's there. So that's the kind of couple things to keep in mind on how I like to adjust, how I like to adapt. And yeah, it's kind of a couple of things to keep in mind. So something that's kind of a little different about this topic, but it kind of flows into the same thing as an attitude. Keeping a positive attitude in these tournaments, keeping a fresh mind, kind of all flows together. Once you pull up to your first spot in the first hour and you haven't had a bite frogging or throwing a jig or whatever you may be doing, buzz bait or whatever, and you haven't had a bite, don't get down on yourself. Don't think it's over. Don't think, oh man, it's just going to be another one of those days. Just try to adapt. Try to change it up a little bit. Those fish may not be hitting top water that day. They may be under the water. They may hit the fluke. They may be hitting Texas rig. Those fish change every single day. So don't get down on yourself. Keep a positive attitude. Keep a positive mindset. Keep trying to figure those fish out. Almost the best tournaments that I have is when I figure those fish out during the tournament. You figure those fish out in practice, great. But a lot of time, like I said, those fish change. So it kind of, excuse me, I'm a little sick, but a lot of times you figure those fish out in practice, it changes. So if you can keep a positive mindset, a positive attitude during those tournaments, figure those fish out that day, that hour, that minute. That's how you have the most successful tournaments that you can possibly have. And that's what I've learned, at least over the past few years. And I'm trying to get better at that. I'm no professional at that either. But if I can just get my mind right to the point to where every day's a new day. Just go out there, focus on that day, focus on what are the fish doing at this time, at this day, at this hour. That'll make you that much better of a fisherman. Instincts has got to be. Some of the best fishermen in the world just have instincts. They feel it, they just go do it. And for me personally, like I said, those are some of the best tournaments that I've had. I get a feeling, I'm like, oh, let me go do this, let me try this, let me pull this rod out the rod locker, catch one first cast, and it leads on to a pattern, and then you just start catching them. Those are the kind of things you got to do. Don't just get so locked in on one technique the day that whatever happened in practice. And then you go to the tournament, you throw it all day, and you throw it for 4 hours, and you haven't had a bite, and you're like, well, it's just going to be another one of those days. No, it's not. You just got to change, kind of adapt, figure out what those fish are doing that day. They're still biting. They eat for a living. So they got to bite. They got to eat. Just kind of take your time, kind of figure it out. So, yeah, that's a few things that I kind of try to keep in mind when I'm trying to adapt to a new lake, kind of keep a positive attitude, positive mindset, all those things that kind of flow into one. That'll be it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what else you guys would like to see. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.